Alright guys, it is the day after the Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence world title fight. What an event it was. I'm at the LA airport at the moment, so I thought rather than sit here and do nothing, I would do a review of the fight. I mean, geez, it's going to be a pretty basic review because I'm assuming everyone's review is going to be about the same, but just wow. I was going to do one probably last night, but I wanted to sort of dwell on it just a little bit and take a little bit more of it in. There was so much to it. First of all, the venue, loved the venue, been there a few times now. I still favour the MGM over it, but it's fast growing on me. It's a really good venue, very user friendly for all the spectators that go there. The seating's really good, the bar access is good, plenty of room. Concords are really good, or concourses I should say, not concords. Concourses are really accessible, plenty of staff, plenty of places to get something to eat and buy some merchandise and everything else. So a really good setup. So love the stadium. The card itself, I got to say, was a little bit, how you going, I suppose is the best way to say it. I thought the crowd didn't really get into the fights. Maybe the Pitbull fight they did a little bit. Donaire probably not so much. The earlier fights a little bit, but overall I wasn't that stressed about the undercard. I was interested in watching Nonito Donaire. Big fan of Donaire, like most people are. It's a shame he couldn't get it done. But the Pitbull fight with Cabrera, yeah, I must admit I found myself watching, or looking at the phone or going out to the convenience store or whatever you call it, to get something to eat or drink or just go people watch. I didn't really find myself watching that fight too much. A few exciting moments, but nothing to get to write home about. So a good win to Pitbull. Excuse me as I get close to it's pretty crowded here. It's flat out here at the moment. I've never seen it this busy. As I said, I wasn't that fussed about the undercard. And I think I said in the video as well, it was a little bit unusual that the crowd didn't really get there until, about 5 minutes before the two fighters come out, which I thought was a little bit unusual. Normally, in the main prelim or the co-main, it starts to really fill up probably halfway through, and looked around and it was probably 25-30% empty at that stage. Of course they all come in at the end of it, and when it started the atmosphere was just awesome, especially when Eminem came out with Bud Crawford. That was really, really cool. The atmosphere in the joint was absolutely pumping, but the only thing I probably was a little bit mystified about is that when Crawford said that he was going to have Eminem walk out with him, I expected him to maybe sing a few bars and get the crowd going that way, but he literally just walked him out. That was it. And about halfway down the aisle he sort of gave him a pat on the back and exited stage left. So but all that aside, whatever, I mean, it's just a byproduct to the end result, isn't it? But really interesting, I thought, when excuse me, as I walk past some people there, but I just thought when the fight started, I was really expecting, as I said in the video yesterday, I was expecting Crawford to win by points. I thought it would be extremely close, and like most people, I wasn't quite sure. My tip changed a few times, and I was for Crawford, then a little bit maybe leaning for Spence, and all this going on. But I was staggered that when the fight started, even though Spence came out aggressively and I actually gave him the first round, I thought he was a little bit busier. Crawford took a real good look at him. I was just staggered how uneasy Spence looked. He looked really uneasy on his feet. Crawford looked supremely confident, supremely confident in himself mainly, and he was so poised, so calculated, so in control. And Spence was sort of rushing. He was trying to bowl those punches in. He was coming with no real game plan. There was no real, there's no real effect to what he was trying to do. He was just coming in, he was letting him go. And as I said, Crawford looked so calm and collected in that first round, even though I did give it to Spence. But after that, it was just one-way traffic. The little, was it a straight? I think he went a left hand followed by a right jab, I think, to put him down. So it was really just a shock knockdown, nothing to get too excited about. I think Crawford said that himself after the fight. But it just set the scene. And from there, Spence looked to panic. And he came out at the start of the third, even more aggressively. He went after Crawford, who just looked like, he was having the time of his life in there. You know, those brutal jabs and the counter punches, and I've just never seen Spence have anyone. Look, Crawford's obviously a supreme fighter, but I've never seen anyone who's just been able to counter Spence so easily and so mercilessly. You know, it was just amazing. And then really from the fourth round, I can't remember what the other knockdowns were, but I think what was it, 6th, 7th round, whatever it was. The rounds go pretty quick. But look, the main theme of it all was that Crawford was just doing absolutely what he pleased. Spence had absolutely no answer to anything that he was doing. He kept rushing in, and that's probably the main thing to come out of it. I just thought that you know, Terrence Crawford just showed why he is one of the you know, the best fighters of, well, not just the modern era but all eras. I think he's put himself right up there with a lot of the great fighters. Is he in the same category as a Mayweather or a De La Hoya, Trinidad, Pacquiao, you know, so many, Leonard Hearns, all these great welterweights? I don't know. It's a tough one. But you know, he's definitely made him you know, put himself as the dominant welterweight of this era anyway. Probably the last, I was going to say 20 years, probably 10 years. So anyway, but and as for Spence, he's got to lick his wounds, doesn't he? He's got to. I'm just not sure whether he can recover from this fight. The performance was that devastating and that dominant that I just don't know what's left for Errol Spence unless and you know, apart from moving up to 154. But okay, so back to the fight itself. You know, I just thought when Crawford, you could see he was talking to Jamal Charlo at ringside as well, which was amusing. But when he knew that he had Spence covered as far as his counters and his and the power punches, and that's probably the other thing that really surprised me as well, is the power that Crawford showed. Not just the speed, not just the counter punches, but the power that he showed, and he continually hurt Spence. You know, with left hands, right uppercuts, right hooks, just pretty much every punch in the book. And you know, there's word, you know, or the talk before the fight was that Spence would be too big and strong, and Crawford would have to box him. Well, it was probably the opposite. Spence almost looked the smaller man in there, and Crawford looked the stronger man, and his punches were hurting Spence continuously. So I'm not quite sure how to really describe the fight, except what everyone else out there is thinking is just dominant, merciless, just vicious of what he did. And he seemed to be having a good time in there, and I was just, as I said, I was just really surprised more than anything at the ease, not the fact that he won, because I did tip him, but just the ease in which he did it. And I think that's what surprised everyone. Now, Spence said afterwards that he did want a rematch. I don't know why he would want a rematch apart from his ego. I don't see that fight happening. Well, you know, that fight going, I'll probably see it happening, but I don't see that fight going any different whatsoever in the rematch. I think if anything, Crawford does it more dominantly. I don't think he'll want to fight. I don't think Crawford should and will go to 154. I think Spence wants the fight at 154. The only way I can probably see that happening is Crawford demands a 65-35 split or 70-30 or whatever it might be. It might even be more, who knows. Unless there's obviously written into the contracts about the with the rematch clauses. But I really can't see how the result changes anything based on what we saw last night. That's how dominant Crawford was. So yeah, and so what's next for Crawford? So obviously with the rematch clause in there, that most likely will be next. But you know, does he go up? Does he stay around? There's not really many other fighters out there for him. I mean, there's the Josh Taylors if they move up. You know, but really, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, there's the Boots Ennises, but do they really, you know, float his boat at the moment? I don't think so. So I'll be interested to see what he does. But there will be obviously a rematch for this one. I think they're talking December. But just looking at Spence, at the way he was just physically and mentally beaten up at the end of it, as I said, I just don't see how the result changes. But I'm not sure how you guys saw it, but just one of those performances for the ages. I just don't think we've seen anything. Well, I don't think I've seen anything this dominant in this division, or actually a fight of this magnitude since, just off the top of my head, but when Pacquiao beat Ricky Hatton in 2 rounds. Now, no, this is not that was probably not at the calibre of this fight. This is obviously a real super fight. That fight back in the day was just a real high quality match-up between two of the best fighters in the world. But the dominance that I remember Pacquiao that night, who absolutely obliterated Hatton. No matter what Hatton did, he was countered. He was just bashed. I saw the same last night, although this one went for 9 rounds without the vicious one-punch knockout in the end, but still just as vicious as far as the multitude and combination of punches that Spence wore. So that's probably all I can say about the fight. As I said, I mean, as far as the scoring goes, apart from the first round, I gave every single round to Crawford. Some 10-8, some 10-7. But I'm not quite sure what the scorecards were afterwards. But either way, it would have been Crawford way out in front. So I can't really delve into this fight too much with too much analytics, because it was just simply just that one-sided. And I don't think you would find anyone out there, experts or former boxers, whatever, that would have tipped a performance like that. A lot of people obviously went for Crawford, but not in that fashion. So, and that's the sort of fight that will make him one of the greats, undoubtedly. So I'll probably waffle on a bit too much here, going over the same thing, but I was just that impressed. And as I said, I really have no words. So it's just Crawford did all the talking himself, and I really can't see how sort of my input describes it. You saw it yourself. It was just one fighter who was super fast, super powerful, super strong, against another fighter who just looked unsteady on his feet. Punches had no zip, no power. He was game. Was his conditioning okay? Is it a combination of what happened in the last few years as far as his car accident, the attached retina? I mean, lots of things, inactivity for him, although Bud's been inactive a little bit as well. Who knows? But I suppose we'll soon see in December when they do it again, if they do it again. Too much money involved not to, I suppose. But I do, or will admit that my opinion is that these rematch clauses have probably got to be looked at. I understand why they're in there. The fighters got to protect their options. I get that. But when you get a fight, probably a bit like when Kambosos fought Haney, absolutely no need for a rematch because the first one was so definitive. And these contracts are put into place, and we've got to sit through another fight. Now, who knows? It could be different. I strongly doubt it, as I'm sure you guys are out there as well. But the way Spence was beaten up, he was pretty much beaten to a pulp at the end of that fight. To see his face at the end of it really wasn't a very, very good thing to see. And I think his trainer, Derek James, was also in shock as well. But so I think that's enough of me waffling on with the praising of Terrence Crawford. I think we're all going to do that for quite some time. Just a great night in Vegas, great atmosphere. I love coming over here to the fights. And that's the reason why. Just an unbelievable experience. So can't wait to do it again. I'm not quite sure when I will. Was going to be Zoo Charlo. Obviously that's not happening now, but we'll see what's happening towards the end of the year maybe. But thanks for everyone that's joined in. Interesting to hear your thoughts and your review of the fight. I'm assuming it's going to be the same as mine. Not really much to say, as I said, except well done Terrence Crawford, undisputed welterweight champion of the world. And he's going to be there for probably as long as he wants to be. So that's it for now. I'm about to jump on a plane, head back to Australia, and back to it. Look forward to seeing you in future videos.